No, I haven't had it because I don't use it anymore. But I mean, it's good, especially because he uses it to watch in meetings and shit.
All right. Good morning, everyone. Let's kick it off.
Every time Mikey comes in, you tell me Bond, bro.
All right. Looking at yesterday, last night's session in the states, we had a little bit of a correction in toward the end of the day. You can see that we actually moved down pretty much the entire session after sort of a sharp move down in the Nasdaq in the end of the morning session. There, we had a bit of a bounce up and kind of made a rounded reversal down toward to close to the lows of the day. We didn't have a whole lot that was really driving the market on the day. No real big news points. No real big data points. We continued to run on the back of a lot of geopolitical tensions with Russia, Ukraine, Israel, Gaza, and the whole story. We had Merck and Pfizer that both traded well off the back of earnings yesterday, and the real news I think was Twitter, which came out after hours, beating estimates, traded up. I think at the end of after hours, we're up about 28%. It was up as much as 30% at one point. Just an incredible move. And yeah, I mean the expectations were obviously probably just a bit light there. You know, the stocks had come off as much as 50% from the highs after the IPO, and people I think just didn't have a whole lot of upside priced in. So they came out with a nice beat there and obviously just went through the roof. So we continue to see this sort of the big upside surprises coming out of the technology space, especially the social media side of things. So maybe a little bit of a boost to someone like Naspers on the back of that this morning. All right, we also had consumer confidence was out yesterday. I'll show you a chart on that in just a little bit. Rose to its highest level in 7 years at 90.9, getting up closer toward the 2006, 2007 days, which we'll show you just now. You can see Asia, we had some follow through there. We had the Kospi that traded well particularly, as well as the Hang Seng. But the rest of the markets are up, but just up scraps. We had Australia's ASX 2000 hitting a 6-year high, which I think is definitely significant. And we've also seen, I think we've got about 5 days in a row now where China's actually been up, which is the longest streak I can remember in some time. So you know, that's important for multiple reasons. Right, if we look at this chart here, this is the consumer confidence chart that we were talking about just a second ago. You can see there we're really creeping back up. I think yesterday's number was actually 90.9, which actually is a touch higher than this on the chart. So the last data point still missing on the chart. But bottom line is we're moving up closer toward the real pre-crisis levels, which were back north of 100. So that's a real positive for the U.S. economy. All right, this morning we had BGA, South Africa, Barclays Group, Barclays Group Africa, which was out with earnings. We had headline earnings per share came in at 7.21, which looks a bit light versus Bloomberg expectations at 7.29. Divi per share came in at 4, which is a touch better than consensus at 3.80. And they made a few comments, I think namely being that the cost of revenues are growing faster than the actually generating earnings. So that's a bit concerning. There's a couple negative things in the numbers, but that being said, we're kind of looking at a turnaround story. They're targeting, I believe, 18 to 20% return on equity. I think we came in a little bit lower than that. So it looks a little bit mixed to a slightly light maybe out of BGA this morning. We also had British American Tobacco, which came out. London numbers there you can see in pounds. We came in pretty much in line. We beat by about half a p on the earnings per share number. We came in pretty much dead in line on the revenue and pretty much dead in line on the Divi per share number. So no real surprises out of that number. And then later in the States, we've got Southern Co., we've got Philips, and we've got MetLife that are coming out later in U.S. action. All right, looking at market data, we had industrial production out of Japan this morning actually came in a little bit light. We have consumer confidence out of France in a minute. We've got the Spanish GDP and CPI numbers. We've got consumer confidence out of the Eurozone at 11. We've got mortgage apps out of the U.S. at 1 o'clock. We've got CPI out of Germany at 2. South African budget at 2. ADP employment change this afternoon in the States, along with the GDP annualized quarter-on-quarter number. I think that's going to be an interesting one to see. I've seen a lot of big-name guys coming out, big-name economists over the last 2 or 3 days, coming out and throwing out some wild projections. I saw one guy say that the GDP only grew by 1% this quarter, the expectations for 3%. That would be a bit shocking. And a couple of other guys saying that we're going to be as high as 4%. So there's real mixed expectations out there among some of the big name players. I think it's going to be an important one to watch. I know this is a backward-looking number, but the bottom line is that we've underperformed there for a couple quarters in a row, and the market's going to want to see something. We've also got the Fed's going to announce its QE3 pace as well as the FOMC rate decision, but that's all after we close on the local market. So we won't get to see any real moves on the back of that during our session. All right, let's jump into the maps. All right, first thing that we're going to have a look at here is the Aussie. Let's see, zoom forward. Okay, so if you were looking at some of our stuff on Twitter, you would have seen that yesterday. But we popped up out of this little narrowing wedge pattern on yesterday's session. You can see there, I think very clearly defined, and we definitely look as we break out of this, we look like we're going to be taking out all-time highs and obviously recent highs in the index here, which are as high as 47,000, close to 47,200 if I'm not mistaken. We still got a little bit of meat left on the bone potentially. Today that's going to be we'll have to see it play out, but yesterday we really struggled to kind of move convincingly through the 47,000 level, and then end of the session I think we kind of corrected down to below that level to close out after hours. Let's watch that level today. You know, the market, like I said, we really underperformed. I think we had a big reversal in the European indexes during our session. Our market didn't follow it. It's the first time that's happened in a long time, and I think that I'd like to potentially watch this 47,000 level to see if we can actually push through over the next session or two for a bit of a heads up on what's coming. All right, let's look at Exaro here. You know, after keeping my eye so closely on this thing for such a long period of time, you know, we were kind of flirting and did get slightly below this level, but we couldn't really push below the level. A bit of a false breakdown there. And we really just made a reversal, very similar actually to Kumba, and kind of faking us to the downside and then reversing higher. You can see here that we've pushed up significantly off of the lows. I mean, we've moved as much as probably 7 or 8% off of the lows. But the bottom line is there's a much higher target here, and you know, if we get a pullback over the next few sessions, this could be a great little place to have a nibble in Exaro. If we look at Naspers here, you can see Naspers making a bit of a flag pattern, a bull flag here on the after what was looking like a potential double top. We topped out literally exactly at the same sort of levels. Just pull this forward a little bit, but we topped out at the exact levels up here at 1357-ish. We pulled back. We traded all the way down to about 1270 the other day, if I'm not mistaken, as part of this flag. We came out a couple days ago after Naspers got their banking license. We had a nice session, but you can see here we continue to fade off the opening levels, and that's something to watch for as well for the real active guys out there. Pretty much every morning that besides yesterday, we seem to get up early in the session and really fade off of that. That trend changed yesterday after we booked over 1 million shares at about 1320. We really started to push higher in the afternoon session for the first time, and that's where our breakout came. So this is going to be, I think, something interesting to watch. About 1320 is really where support and resistance is on that bull flag breakout. I'd like to see if we can hold that level. If we can over the next few sessions and we start to drift up toward 1350, I think it's a matter of time before this thing takes out highs and really just rips higher again. All right, let's look at MTN. MTN has been moving out to the right after pulling back down. I know we've shown this chart. We haven't shown it in a while, but we've shown this chart several times at 220. After we pulled back into this sort of 220 level, we came back down and we tested this beautifully 2 or 3 days, maybe inside 7 or 8 trading days. We tested right at 220, couldn't get below, which is nice to see it hold on support. This is a classic bull flag into support, and we tried to break out the other day. We had a huge reversal into the end of the session. Yesterday looked a lot more convincing. Beautiful green candle closing at the highs of the day above the 225 level, and I think this thing probably, it could have a potential second day play in it today. If it gets going, it can push it above the highs from yesterday, sometime by late morning. Then we could, I don't see any reason why we can't start to build some momentum to trade up closer to 230 and on higher than that in the next couple of weeks. Right, and the last one I want to show is going to be BHP Billiton. Billiton broke out yesterday from a bit of a rising wedge. We've really just, we've really had a huge rally lately over the miners, and it's a bit disappointing not to have caught that, but we've had breakouts in Billitons. You can see obviously here, when we broke out with this consolidation, we did talk about that one. We talked about us, consolidating on top of this breakout here. We know we looked at Anglos. We talked about the breakout that we've had in Anglos. There's a significantly higher target on Anglos as well. We've had the same sort of thing on Glencore. Glencore's had an incredible breakout as well. So all of these diversified miners are really starting to put it on, and it might have a little bit to do with the fact that China has been able to kind of stick its head up a little bit lately. It seems like some of the negative commentary has died down out of China in the last few sessions, and like we said, if China if China does turn the corner in terms of the economy there, then we could definitely see these miners really add a lot more to the gains that we've had in the recent weeks. And that's it for today, guys. Happy trading.